Hey, everybody, I'm your host, Russell Hill of the WTF, and that is What the Fix Stops podcast to all of you out there. And I'm joined today by...
Hello, everyone. I'm Charity, the co-host here today, and we have Dennis McGinn. He's the founder of Rapid Recon and co-founder of Workflow Live. Dennis, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, just give us an intro. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, our people want to know. Everybody wants to know, Dennis.
Yeah, well, okay. So I was, I'm fortunate enough to have jumped into this reconditioning accountability part back about 15 years ago, when literally everybody, to a man, every general manager and all their bosses thought reconditioning was not really a problem. And they would all say the same thing. Oh, it's 2 or 3 days. Everything's fine. Don't bother me. I've got this under control. Well, it turns out that I didn't believe that at the beginning, but these guys had been convincing themselves at the 20 group meetings for so long that this was the case. And what they were doing was trying to avoid anybody questioning them. I mean, because they knew it wasn't true, but they didn't know what the right number was. And here comes Dennis along with his, I don't care about, what you guys have been doing in the past. I know how this works. And you're all full of it. These numbers don't make any sense. And so I just jumped headlong into this whole thing and started with the Larry Miller stores, and then after that with Penske. And pretty soon, guys like Roger Penske would notice what was going on, because this is a guy that watches things and he's really good with metrics and numbers. And he had a fixed ops guy who, in their central region, which includes a lot of their big heavy stores, BMW and so on, they really had accurate information because he was watching the internal ROs and the opening and closing. So he knew what the really average recon time was that was going down. And he finally told me, he said, Dennis, I've got the actual number at 16 days, not 2 or 3. And I started to add that up. What's the difference between two or 3 and 16? Well, it was their selective memory and the thing that they go to their 20 group meetings and say, well, yeah, I don't have a problem with reconditioning. But they didn't even know. So I kind of lit a fire into this thing and brought these metrics into it, the average days in recon and time to line, which I invented for Penske to get the GMs involved about the inventory on the ground. How long is this stuff sitting there? So that was kind of the beginning of Rapid Recon, and it took a while to get it going. But once it got going, people said, "Oh, this is we designed it so that everybody could just say for their silo, their part of the reconditioning on their phone. They said, here's my button. I'm done with my part. Now nobody has to ask me. Everybody knows, and they get to see the scoreboard in front of everything as to their part of that number. And they could see, okay, 2 or 3 days, no way. And pretty soon these numbers look ridiculously high, and they started working on it. And today, the Penske stores are averaging the numbers that I thought they should, which is 6 days and under for the really good stores. And these include the BMW, their Highline stores and things like that.
So how long is Rapid Recon? When did you found this company? Yeah,
2010.
Okay. Now, I don't think, for all of you out there listening, I don't think I would find it, I would be hard pressed that if anybody didn't know Rapid Recon. It is everywhere, permeated into every fabric of most dealerships. And how many are there? Like 3,000, something like that? Or
yeah, there's 3,500 about, and they go from South Africa to Australia, and
wow,
I mean, it's everywhere. So yeah, and it's basically, I'll brag a little bit, because all the big guys have tried to copy it or buy something to say, okay, well, we've got something. You don't need Rapid Recon. None of them, they're all gone. I mean, none of it's worked because they didn't really understand the problem. They bought something that was, they thought, cool technology, but they didn't understand how you get the behavior at the level of people doing the work to add up to something that they could all see at the same time. So they could say, yeah, okay, I can see my part of this. And so all about accountability, and it's now working, which is why there's so many of these things. And obviously I love it. I still play a role in this whole industry, writing to it every week and things, because I love this business. And I love the fact that we've done something for a very large industry that took this thing on, and now people have it right. And I can tell a difference in 10 minutes between the ones that are serious and are on top of the numbers.
I'll bet.
And the system. They're all doing their part. And you can see it and they can see it. And I think just about everything in a dealership should be run like that, you know?
Yeah. Well,
and that's what Workflow Life's about.
The operative word is should be. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a behavioral thing, right? I mean, they don't like change. They don't like new things. And they don't want to really be accountable unless everybody else is. I mean, it sounds like a simple thing, but it's not.
No.
They don't really trust. They don't trust the numbers. They don't trust other people's numbers. They all want to be better than the other guys. And so you kind of have to earn your way down the track on this thing, so that button on their phone, their desktop, is theirs, and they see it works, and they see it in front of them how it all adds up.
And well, it makes a huge difference. We're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars in 6 days or under or over. We just are.
Yeah. Yeah, you know the numbers, and it's huge, and what it does, it makes everybody aligned when they know their button is part of the process, and it all adds up, and so where the bottlenecks are, you can see them, and you can find who's not doing their part.
So Charity, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Charity asked.
Oh, let me ask you.
Yeah, that.
Thanks, Russell.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Dennis, you've been in automotive for decades. What's one thing about dealership operation that has not changed, even with all the technology shifts?
Well,
there you go.
Yeah, I think what's not changed is that they still have a role called general manager, who they expect to kind of make money on everything the store does, but yet they don't know how to do that either. I mean, these people spend 90% of the time being reactive, because they think their job is to be there to handle problems that nobody else can handle, and therefore they get sucked into everything, and they think that's their job rather than be strategic. And so I live on this all the time, and I don't know. I know a lot of both, but I can tell by just looking at the numbers for 10 minutes whether they're just kind of faking it till they make it in this area or not. But I think the thing that hasn't changed is the general managers tying together the group objectives all the way up and down the line, not just with general managers, but people that work for them. So they all have the same goal. And just like with Rapid Recon, they see the scoreboard. They say, oh yeah, I now know I'm part of that number, because when I push my button on my phone saying I'm done with my part, nobody has to ask me any questions. And that's where accountability gets aligned.
I love it. That's why it grew so big.
You started Rapid Recon in 2010. That was before workflow and AI became trendy buzzwords. What problem were you seeing inside dealerships that everyone else seemed to ignore?
Nobody trusted anybody else's numbers. So I went to a lot of 20 group meetings in the early stages to figure out what it was that they were thinking they were doing, and they all had different approaches to things. The fence lineup of all the cars and things that they were doing to try and kind of attack one silo at a time. So I got me really motivated, because my background is all I work with the auto guys I work with in Detroit, had a whole team there building applications for Ford and General Motors and things like that. So I know this business inside out, and I know the technology part of it as well, because I'm engineering physics guy with an MBA, so nobody can figure out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. It's confusing enough, but I love this thing because I like seeing people get something that works, and then they adopt it and they change, and then everybody else falls in line. So that's the experience of Rapid Recon, because like I said, I can look at the numbers from these groups, the 3,000 stores that are probably consist of 40 or 50 groups, large groups, and there are a bunch of small ones. I can tell who's getting it, who's not. And the ones that are getting it, that are on top of things, are so much happier. They're so much better at what they do because everybody knows and they trust the numbers. And the other people that have kind of tried to just kind of fake it till they make it, they're just going to continually create their own bottlenecks, and they'll never take accountability. So that's what that's about. I guess you call it separating the wheat from the rest of it, but I can see it, and I've experienced it, and I still am. I'm in the middle of this thing. If I had my way, I'd get them all in a room and embarrass them into being truthful about the numbers, because I know how to do that too.
Yeah.
But that's probably not going to work. So I'll just continue to kind of stay in front of these people. And then when we get around talking a little bit about Workflow Live, that'll kind of ring the bell for the next level of things.
So a mutual friend of ours introduced us, I don't know, about a month and a half ago. And I reached out. We set up, we've had multiple meetings together, and you're going to hear more about workflow as well. It's amazing. I'm saying, it's like, I don't even know how we got in the conversation. And I consider myself, I'm 67 years old. And I'm thinking, man, I'll tell you what, just trying to keep up with all this stuff. And then Dennis told me, I thought he was younger than me. And I'm going to share this, Dennis, but he said, I'm 81. The guy doesn't ever shut off. He's like the Energizer bunny or something. I don't know what it is. And here you are, you're not even feeling good. You're showing up to a podcast and you're flying out to the granddaughter's, graduate anyway.
Yeah.
And now you started another company that actually, I think, pivots and piggybacks right off of Rapid Recon and where you're going with that. So what you've done for this industry and what I've learned in the short time that we've spent together, we spent several hours together. It's been truly amazing. So thank you very much, Dennis.
Thank you, Russell. And by just a side note thing, the person that labeled me as the Energizer bunny is a friend of mine called Dale Pollock. Okay. And if the industry all knows another guy that was into inventory turns, who's not doing it more, but he's had more impact on this industry than anybody I know.
Dale has?
Yes, yeah. I think. And so he would run up, and he thought he started making that cute thing. He used to introduce me to people as the Energizer Bunny. So I guess I've earned a little bit of that.
Yes, you have.
You have. And, I wanted to circle back about a word that you said, which is accountability. Why is accountability so hard to operationalize in dealerships?
Yeah, it's because people don't trust the numbers. They don't. I mean, they got to actually see how it works. They have to understand that everybody else is doing the same thing to help the numbers that roll up. Once you do that, then they say, okay, I guess you can see my part in this.
Yeah.
I'm part of that number. And before you do that, they don't trust it. I mean, for years and years, they've all made up numbers to try and avoid being, I don't know, accountable, really. And they've gotten away with it. And they don't like change. So once they think they're safe with this thing, they stay on course. So you got to shake the whole tree pretty hard. And, I now have the privilege of being involved with the ones that I can see both ends of this thing. I can see the ones that are just pushing the button saying, hey, I hope nobody notices me. And the ones that are pushing the button saying, okay, look at all the money I'm making for my group, because my turns are like outrageous. I can't have cars, nothing sits around here at all. And everybody has fewer ulcers. They know where they stand all the time. And that ultimately, that's what we want, right? Everybody's saying, I'll be accountable if you are accountable the same way. Once they feel like everybody's being accountable the same way, they're good, they're in, and they stay in. And that's hard to do in this industry.
It is. And that parlays really nicely into this next question, which Charity is so good at. Where did you do? And I think I know the answer, but it's going to be enlightening to hear what you have to say about where do dealerships usually lose momentum operationally? Is it process, leadership, communication, lack of visibility? Where's the momentum, up or down? What is the reason?
Boy, it's different in every case, but it starts at the top. It starts with the general manager. Okay. And if they are not looking at, they don't understand the numbers, and they don't have to, be building a spreadsheet every week. They just have to look at the numbers so they can have a conversation with the people that are doing the work. And so then they make the connection. Oh, you know how I'm doing or not doing. You know where my bottlenecks are, right? You can see them. And the answer, once you get on that and everybody says, yeah, okay, I now see how I'm part of this, I'm impacting this number, they start to get going. It starts to match up with their pay plans, which is what you want. I mean, they like
work your pay plan.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot to some AI questions and get your perspective there. Right now, every vendor is throwing AI into their messaging. What's your personal definition of useful AI versus gimmicky AI products?
Well, I started out when I went to work for Hewlett Packard a long time ago. I worked for them 21 years, and one of the jobs that they put me into after I left HP was to run the major competitor Oracle at that time. Super high technology,
huge
stuff, right? And so I have a very good understanding of kind of the predecessor to AI, which was business intelligence. I mean, it started out with database and relational databases and things, and kind of grew from there. But now we have this fantastic capability that you don't have to train. I mean, it already knows everything about your business. It's so smart. And so you can go right into the middle, fill in a few blanks on your AI for whatever you're trying to do in your operation, and it can really help you move along. It takes you a lot of shortcuts, and you don't have to train it. You don't have to teach it what a general manager is. You don't have to teach it what inventory turns about. It already knows all this stuff. So in the stuff that we're doing around this company, Workflow Live, we use Anthropic and we do Claude. We have Claude and all that, but they all basically, it lets us let Anthropic do a lot of the lifting for us. It's just made a huge difference in being able to move things forward. It actually gives us a lot of answers and will create things for us that we don't have to do, including development tasks. I mean, it's not actually developing software, but it can organize things for you and keep you on track with things.
Yeah.
And I think it'll do that for this whole industry, but it has to have a context. You can't just say, okay, ask your Claude Anthropic any question about anything. So you've got to have a context to work with. So that it still has to be structured.
No, I've seen some of it. He and Bridget, brilliant, have shared this platform with me, and I'm telling you, it is the next big thing.
It is, and Bridget's been in this industry a long time. I have too, and kind of the two of us together. I've been through the reconditioning and watched a process and metrics and things take hold for the right reasons, because everybody's being measured, and they basically have said, okay, I trust this now. And so we're doing the same thing with Workflow Live, except now it's going to scale up to the groups and down to the departments all the way. So they all are aligned the same way. In other words, it won't be different people being measured and being able to avoid accountability. It's using the Rapid Recon model as an approach to converting behavior into commitment.
I think it's the single biggest thing I've seen, as you alluded to earlier, Dennis, reactive versus proactive. Instead of, having to put out all these fires and be involved in everything, this is going to change your world where you can be proactive instead of reactive. I mean, it is substantial. You all can't look at it today, but you remember that name because it's coming. And when you got somebody like Dennis and Bridget that have built a company like they have with Rapid Recon, once you build a company like that, this just parlays off of that and it goes to the next level. And you got AI involved. It's going to be pretty significant. It'll be a household or dealership go to, probably nationally or internationally. Don't you agree, Dennis?
Yes, yeah, because that's what we did with Rapid, and it made sense, and people found that they could trust it. And the same thing with Workflow Live, except it's going to scale up and down. It's not a reconditioning solution. It's an accountability solution. It's an execution closure. So you'll be able to know how well you're executing and all your major P&Ls, all your major priorities. And back to kind of the beginning, in the dealerships, the general manager, again, the guy is in the middle that doesn't, he's in charge, but he's not in control. Right? There's too many things for them to do to say everything's perfect, and they'll kill themselves trying, but they forget as soon as somebody says, "Hey, I got a problem here. I need you to help me fix." They've gone reactive, and you've lost their attention. So, and the place they're going to get the time is from the system, is from the metrics, from the measures, to be able to say, okay, I see all this comes together, and now I can be more proactive because I can see where I'm going to measure that. And where are they going to get the time for that? Because there won't be any time just laying around. They won't think of it that way. It's going to take away from the reactive time.
Yeah,
delegate that away to somebody else, which they don't like doing. But that's where we're going to move it down that track.
Yeah, this is exciting, and I don't unless it's changed. So when you talk about microprocessors that are not 100, not 1,000, not 10, 100,000 times faster than the human brain. And yes, everybody's talking about AI, and there's the naysayers more in the US than other parts of the world, but there's a lot of naysayers. Oh, it's going to take our jobs. No, what he's talking about, it's a supplement. It's something that you won't, it's like an assistant that has all the information at the fingertips instantly that'll allow you to operate at an efficiency level that you've only dreamed or thought, maybe rare moments in time where you thought that was happening and then you lost control again. This will help that not happen.
It absolutely will. It's going to be a real, I hate the word game changer because everybody uses it, but they don't know what it means.
Is there any stock that we can buy or anything like that?
Yeah, just send me a check. No, I could see taking this thing public someday, but that's not really my goal. My goal is to see this get in the hands of people like general managers and their bosses and say, okay, I can see now where we can have consistency in terms of behavior and metrics and bottlenecks and things like that across the whole organization. And people will trust this because they understand how it works. And they don't have to train it. They don't have to teach it what things are. It already knows a lot it knows what our business is all about, and including reconditioning. And so I think this is going to have a big jump. But you have to kind of try it. You got to get in there, set it up, and watch it do its thing, and then start to engage with it.
I did. I know on one of the calls, Zoom calls we were on, and Bridget and you were sharing it with me and put me into that system, and I started getting those notifications. It was really amazing. Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Charity.
Yeah. Well, I want to stay on the topic of AI for a minute. And I read a post of yours saying that AI should help organize and execute work, not just become a marketing upsell. So, what does meaningful AI adoption actually look like in the dealership to you?
Wow. It's a great question. See, I told you, Dennis.
Yeah, no, she's making me work for
Yeah, she is.
my stage time.
Yes, she is. That's what she does.
Yeah, well, but it is probably the best question, maybe the hardest one, but also the best. What does this mean to me? Okay. And is it going to take over my job so I don't have to do it anymore? The answer is no way. You still need people to actually do the work, whether it's reactive or proactive, but you really want to use it to help you organize your time and your priorities to pull from reactive to more proactive. That's kind of the simple way to look at it. And it will absolutely help you do that. And you don't have to tell it much of anything about your business. You just have to tell it what things you want to measure. What are the workflows that are most important to you as a general manager? Well, certainly selling new and used cars is a big deal. Staying on top of the my CSI scores is a really big deal. The flow of traffic into my service drive and average profit for RO, things like that. It will, you know, it'll show you where you are and all those things all the time. So you can figure out where are you going to spend your time that makes a difference on a proactive basis. That's what it's going to do for you.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for somebody to put together a report for you to be able to review. It'll be real time, instantaneous whenever you want it.
Yep. Yep. And that in itself will create a whole new wave of things where people, because a lot of the general managers, the guys in the middle, they're just compulsive about staying on top of stuff, right? The really good ones tend to try and do everything. And there's a huge burnout rate in there too. A lot of these guys, yeah, right. A lot of general managers end up going to fixed ops to run fixed ops. They don't go to sales unless they come to from sales. But yeah, it's going to change the dynamic at the dealership. We're not going to change the model of franchises or anything like that because we don't need to. But the delay, the gap between here a bunch of problems in these parts of my operation that I know are there, but I can't put my finger on it. So help me find the time to focus on that and tell me kind of where I should spend my time. Where's the bottleneck in my F&I process or, my parts process. And so that's what you want. You want the AI doing all that work for you so you can communicate with the people that work for you who all want to do great jobs. Okay. But if you don't, right, if you don't help them and if you don't know what they're doing and you can't talk to them about the results, the metrics, they're not going to do it by themselves.
Right.
Because you're the boss. You're the boss. You're the guy that has to say what's important.
That's so true. I mean, 3 years ago, you'd be talking about this, people get, guy's out of his mind, it ain't happening. And could you imagine where we're going to be at 3 years from now? I can't even imagine. It's moving so fast, but it keeps coming back to, of course, you answered it. It's not going to, unfortunately, some job, no, I'm not talking about, some jobs will be eliminated, but you better embrace it because it's coming and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it's evolving fast. And I believe probably the greatest transition of wealth in history in the next few years, like $10 trillion, I read not too long ago. I just want a little piece of that. That's all, just a little piece.
We all do.
Dennis, what role does data actually play in good decision making? So, if it's right in front of them and they have the data that they're looking for, it still seems like a lot of stores struggle operationally. So, because a lot of stores have the data, but they still struggle, where can you make the connection there?
The data is what you use to figure out where you are, and it also feeds the AI engine too. And so it kind of comes back to metrics and how are you doing? doesn't matter what part of the business you are, they all have metrics. Some of them have some pretty refined metrics already, like in parts. But you can't do a lot about parts. You can't have a fire sale on parts every Friday and change the trajectory of your parts business. It doesn't work that way. You can do promotional things about oil changes and have some temporary lift in your traffic to your service bays and basically to your quick lube operations. Where you can have the most impact, frankly, is in used cars. Okay. And that's why I got so interested in that, because it's a lot of work to continually restock, find good used cars that you can recondition and sell. And you can't do much about your new cars. The manufacturers, you make all those decisions, so it's a very narrow thing. But you can do a lot in used cars, and you can make up to $5,000 per car front and back. That's a really big deal. It's a lot of work. And you want to be able to repeat that on a regular basis and continually know where you're going to source these things and how you're going to get them to the front line and how you're going to make sure they don't come back. In other words, the reconditioning them.
Those
So
are
that's
the things. Yeah.
yeah, and fixed ops is part of that. Obviously, they're an integral part of the reconditioning process, and to do what they do well. But I don't know if that helps kind of center things a little bit. But I think, Charity, you asked about the data and where does the data come in? The data comes in everywhere. I mean, you can't manage what you can't measure. And a lot of people say that, but I learned that at Hewlett Packard from the guys that invented measuring things. Sure, it was a voltmeter to start with, but now it's all about process improvement. Okay. It's all about knowing your processes, whether it's parts or service or sales or whatever it is. Every one of them is a workflow. Every single one.
Yeah, it
So
is.
they all can be characterized and you could put measures against it.
It's like so true. And I mention it all the time. Data is not only data, clean data is the new currency going forward. It's critical to everything. But what about in regards to data? You have dirty data because the data of the DMS a lot of times is dirty. The CRM is dirty, duplicates. Then you have all the vendors that you have, and that data, which is changing, is siloed, and it needs to be part of the overall data that you're pulling from. Are you having any challenges with that?
Yes, there's always challenges with that because yes, it's got to get from whatever system is managing it and producing it. And so the key systems are, for any dealer or group, you've got the DMS is always there. It's always an issue, but since it has control of your repair process in most cases, that's kind of the backbone. And it's like a giant. You got a lumbering giant in your pocket and you're paying like to the nose for it. Then there's your inventory system, your Viato or Max Digital, those kind of things that you're doing to kind of make sure you're on top of the inventory. You know where it is. You can be at the desk. You can land people on cars and work deals. And then there's the Rapid Recon, which is the third wheel in this thing, which is, okay, well, I know I can make money in used cars, but I have to recondition them quickly. I don't
Yes.
have much time.
No.
I got to turn these things quickly, and I don't want them back. I got to make sure that it's done right, whether it's not just the safety, but also that we're doing the right thing for the customer in terms of tires and brakes and everything else. So there's a lot of money to be made here if you take the bottlenecks out of the system. And a lot of those bottlenecks are just communication. Okay. People being on the same page. And that's why I use the word alignment a lot, because if I'm the general manager and I know I've got that Workflow Live is doing the analysis for me, it's serving it up to me on a daily basis. You can tell it, I want to see these numbers, how I'm doing on my primary workflows every morning. I want you to show it to me. And then I can go after those things because it's measure and manage. But you got to have the data's got to be figured out. And every one of those systems has reports that they spit out, and lots of them. And then you've got gigantic spreadsheets. Well, this can do a lot of that for you. the AI can do a lot of that lifting for you to tell you, again, back to let's move from reactive to proactive.
Yeah.
Let's get strategic.
I hear a
And-
lot today that I think workflow is going to change, and that is ADD, another damn dashboard. There's so many damn dashboards. It's like, I mean, it's like there's 8, 9 screens open with different information. That's why they don't trust the data. I mean, but that's changing. That's coming. And obviously Workflow Live is one of those things that will pull that together. Do you think there's less siloing going on today than there was a few years ago?
Yes. Yeah, in reconditioning for sure. I mean, because that's what we did. So we use that as kind of a springboard to say, well, what if we took the barriers out? It's not just you're not throwing things from one silo to the other, and nobody really wants to see the bigger picture. So that's that. We figured that one out. We know what it's like to have the pieces that make the whole workflow work. All we understand how it fits together, how it holds together, and understand who's doing what or who's not doing what, which is fair. I mean, and that's another thing with Workflow Live. You want all the people doing the work, because you're not going to do the work. You're going to delegate it to people that you want to get better all the time at their roles and the things and eliminate bottlenecks. Okay, so it's back to the measure and manage. You can measure it. You can manage it. You can
Charity?
improve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, tell us, Dennis, looking back, what was the hardest part of building Rapid Recon in the early years?
I'll give you an example. Okay. So the first place that we started to get going with Rapid Recon was a Lexus store in Fremont. And I'd known these folks for quite a while. And there was an internal service advisor, and he didn't like any processes. He was very surly, right? And so he said, we showed him initial ideas what we're going to do. He said, I'd never use this. This guy was always grumpy, very, very. And I said, okay, we're going to have to make him happy. Then we'll know we're on the right track. Okay. So it has to be simple enough for a guy like that is a skeptic and is going to look sideways at things, because he's seen a lot of things that don't work too. And so it took about a year to work with this guy. Alan was his name. He's still there. And for him to say, wow, okay, I could see all this now. And he's just gone from being a skeptic to a full-time user, because now it's his. He owns it. Okay. It's not another silo. So he sees how it all fits together. So yeah, I feel very lucky to have had a guy like Alan up front who said, I would never use something like this. And I said, okay, then we got to make it so that it makes his job easier.
I love it.
Yeah. I love how you embraced that personality type and really leveraged it to make your solution better.
His Alan Charity is our Michael Barrich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably put them in a room together. They all kill each other because, but that's the good thing. The good thing is they're dedicated. They're really good at their jobs. They know what they want. And if you don't give them the right kind of support, they're just going to continue to do what they think is important. But if you can align all those resources so that they all help each other, everybody can see on their part. The silo part is, that's the history.
I love the Allens up front. Those are the ones that, man, those challenges is what builds the foundation, is all the Allens out there. The ones that they're not even really paying attention. The Allens they're looking for something that makes their life easier, more efficient, not as time consuming, all those things. And I love that level of pushback from those type of people, because it helps companies rise to the occasion.
Yeah. And Alan, for instance, was skeptical because, everybody tries something new. Well, yeah. Alan didn't want to try something new just to be a guinea pig. He says, I'm never going to use this thing. And we kept working on it till he said, oh my gosh, this is great. This is what I'm going to use for my job. And that's what it took. Took a year of kind of making it easier to use, easier to see exactly where they were in the process, improving the processes. And he wanted to do all that. He was capable, but he was frustrated as hell. I mean, he basically said, nobody else really listens to me. It was his own silo because they didn't, right? Because he really wanted to make sure all his cars were reconditioned correctly. And he knew it. He knew exactly what, but he didn't have any tools to make sure it worked for him.
Well,
And
let's make sure Alan tunes into this segment of the episode. That's what we want to make sure of. Yeah.
I'll call him and send this to him and make sure he looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell us, Dennis, what leadership lesson did you have to learn the hard way?
Wow, great question, Charity.
Well,
I'm telling you, it's like a simple question, but it's like, damn, where do I go with this one?
Well, I think probably the hard way was getting to the group levels. So if you think it's hard for a general manager to want to be measured and managed, and if they feel like they're better than everybody else, so there's a whole ego part of this thing, and it multiplies as you go up the level to the group. So getting the group level views and reporting correct. We got it correct at the Allen level, and then you have to make it scale up. So all the people that rely on Allen say, okay, I see that number and I'm part of that. So I've got my button. And so that was probably the most frustrating part that I had, because I'm an enterprise level guy, coming from the industry. And my whole goal was to get enterprises to kind of behave better. And so I saw the potential for that. And with the Larry Miller Group, which now Asbury owns, but I had 4 different executives that each owned about 10 or 15 stores. Okay. To that group. And the frustrating thing for me was to get those guys at a level up doing the same thing that we were trying to get the general managers to do on the ground. In other words, to look at that part of the business, be able to compare the results of their part of the group with everybody else and say, okay, I own that. That was the most frustrating part. And it took a bunch of brain cells. Well, it did. It took a lot of brain cells to kind of figure out, okay, how are we going to now make this thing work? And that's what happened when I got to Penske. Penske finally helped us figure it out.
Yeah.
Because they really do run things from the numbers. They do really know their stuff.
So this is kind of like, I'm going to phrase this a couple different ways. What motivates you now after decades in the industry, and what motivated you back then? Is it still the same thing today?
Yeah, it is still the same thing today. And, I work with Australia, for instance. They've got not just Rapid Recon, but Workflow Live will be down there too. And it's kind of like, okay, well, the US and Canada are huge operations, enormous, with the number of franchises and things. Australia is a little more contained, but it's a lot like the US marketplace. And so ultimately it comes down to the people, all right? Do you like the people? Do they trust you? Do you enjoy working with these people? And they have the same goals. Are we trying to do the same thing? Are we trying to improve these processes?
Sure.
It's back to the measure and manage thing. And once you get that going and you get people bought in as to where you're going to go, and you've got people that are energized about that, and that's what attracts me. I like the people that understand and want to improve these processes, and we help them do it.
Yeah, man, that gets me excited too. It really does. I mean, yeah, that's and you sum it up by what you said earlier, which I say often. If they like you, they trust you, they believe you, they'll engage and buy from you, and you'll solidify relationships. Look at what you're doing now after Rapid Recon and workflow and what's fixing to happen with that. That's going to take a fraction of time what it took you to get Rapid Recon to where it is. Don't you agree?
Yes and no. Okay. I mean, we've got the model, we've got the way to look at measure and manage and the process improvement part of it. But you still have to help people to get in and understand, okay, how do you organize? They still have to look at the data. They still have to look at the results, the reports in a way that they can see what's not working. Okay. And then it's the execution. Okay. And the two parts are the analysis. So I know what's going on and I know where the problems are right now. And I can do something about it. And then the execution is what we call the action items, the things that what are you doing about it? Because now you can see what's happening as a result of your actions. We've got all that tied together with Workflow Live. So, I've never been more excited about where things are, and AI, I think, will help to shortcut the process of getting to a point where everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, thank you for that. We are already. I know people got to go. I don't even know the questions that Charity's come up with are the best, and now we're already out of time. So I'm going to ask you this, and let Charity ask you a couple. Would you be open to coming back on so we can continue what we didn't get into?
I'd love to. I mean, you are right up there in what you've done, what you've achieved, what you're doing for Deniis today that I know about your business. It's so simpatico with kind of what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
We have a lot of synergy here to bring to the industry.
Well, I thought so, but it sure has a different meaning when somebody like you that's accomplished all that you did and the education level that you have. That is a tremendous compliment. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing some pretty interesting things with you guys because I love what you've done, taking a problem that almost every dealer has that is right there. I mean, those calls are coming in to get appointments and not getting done. Well, that's right to the bottom line, and you're building marketing programs around it to kind of get ahead of that whole thing. And I love the model you have.
Thank you.
It fits right into the things that I like to do too. So,
did you want to buy us? Is that what I heard you say? I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm working on that too. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Are there any questions we didn't ask you today that you wish that we would have before we finish out? And everybody did hear it. He did agree that he would come back on so we could finish up. But go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I think it's the measure and manage thing. It kind of comes back to the beginning of everything. Can't measure it, can't manage it. But you got to want to be measured and managed. You got to be part of that. You got to buy into that whole thing. So I think the challenge of this industry is getting everybody on board with what can be done with things like Workflow Live, so that your guys at the right level are paying attention to their major workflows, which is all their P&Ls, and that then they have time to actually do something about it. You're pulling away from that reactive stuff. So I got a bunch of stories I'll tell you maybe next time around about some of my favorite general managers and owners, their principals, who have given me a lot of material to work with. Some of it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And some of it's just reality.
Well, once again, thank you. We are honored and humbled to have Dennis McGinn, founder of Rapid Recon and co-founder of Workflow Live. And I got to tell you, all of you out there with somebody like this and what he's gone through to get where he's at, you should be hanging on every word, not only the whole podcast when it comes out, but also all the shorts that are going to be following. And where's it going to be? Where's it going to be? It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere for about 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to be able to pick up the tidbits and stuff like that. It's amazing. This is Dennis, once again, thank you. Another successful WTF, and that is what the fixed ops to all of you out there. So look him up, like him, connect with him, love him, make comments, engage with him. You might think he won't engage, but I'm here to tell you he will. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much for your time.